All right, good evening. Glad you guys are here. I have a couple people that are getting these fine certificates that we hand out. This is the highest possible certificate you can receive at this church. There are 3 that we give out, but this is the high-level one. Woo, it's a big baller right here. Certificate of completion for our pastoral training program. So these people know everything you can know about the Bible. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. They are completely trained and can pastor their own church at any minute now. The first one is Brian Kim. He'll be starting in LA stuff off. The second one is Shelly Song. Starting a Seattle step off. Excellent. Get rid of them as they come. All right. Today I'm going to drop some knowledge, so hold on to your seat. I know half of you dropped out of school or got GEDs, but it's all right. You know, you're Asian, so you should be smart. So I'm going to help you guys here. I'm going to take you back in time a little bit. Not just 10 years ago, but a long time ago, even before Jesus' time. Jesus is around 0 AD, he was born about 3 BC, right? All the way back past Socrates and Plato. You ever heard of those guys, Socrates and Plato? That's them. They were 450 BC. Before them, you've seen the movie 300, right? That takes place in about 480 BC. So that's before Jesus. The BC means like after we go all the way to 0, then they start counting the other way, unlimited. So, that guy took place at 480 BC around. And I don't know if you knew this, but even further back, another 100 years back or so, was Confucius. He was born. Nice. So he was born in 551 BC, if you ever heard of Confucius. Prior to him, just a few years before them, that guy was born. Sometimes he looks fatter and sometimes slimmer, depends on what country you're in. Buddha was born in about 563 BC. And today we're going to talk about this guy Isaiah, Isaiah was born in 770 BC, even before the Buddha and the Confucians. And so some things that were going on during Isaiah's life, just so you have a picture of how long ago. Jesus, 2,000 years. Buddha, 2,500 years. And Isaiah, 2,700 years. Hinduism was beginning. The sacred books of the religion Hindu were just being written at that time, the same time that Isaiah was living. We're going to talk about Isaiah today. The Olympics officially began just a few years before Isaiah was born. 776 BC, the Olympics officially began, believe it or not. Rome was founded during Isaiah's lifetime. And guess who else was around at that time? Not Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was 1100 AD. You're like, oh my gosh, he seems old, but Genghis Khan wasn't around. Today we're talking about the book of Isaiah, in case you're in it. A couple of Asian people for you, you know? That's Asian people that want to know about Genghis Khan. So Isaiah was around 770 BC, so quite some time ago, almost 3,000 years ago. And he wrote a book of the Bible called Isaiah. Now Isaiah basically the book breaks down like this. Basically the first 27 or so chapters are about God saying, the Jews, you haven't been following me and you should have been. All these other nations have turned to foreign gods and you should have been following me. And in fact, the world is not where it should be. So the first 27 chapters are sort of a bummer in terms of Isaiah. His message is, you need to repent, otherwise God's going to smash you Jews. And if you don't repent, other nations, not just the Jews, all sorts of people are supposed to turn to God. And if they don't, then God is very angry about that. Not because he hates other things, but it would be wrong to worship anything other than God. And then the last section of the book of Isaiah is 40 or so chapters. And it just talks about how God is going to save and restore the Jews, save and restore those other nations, and save and restore ultimately the world. So that's really how Isaiah breaks down. Now, if that sounded boring, hate to tell you, the book itself, as you read it, is more boring than that. So that was the exciting highlight version of that. I'm going to highlight 4 things about Isaiah. Isaiah is an important prophet. He's one of the most quoted prophets in the New Testament. However, when you go back and read the book of Isaiah, because you'll be really excited to after tonight, after about 5, 6 chapters, you'll be like, done with Isaiah, never reading it again. So I'm going to highlight a couple of the cooler things in Isaiah. One of them comes from Isaiah 51. And Isaiah, or God, offers an interesting answer to why good or godly people sometimes die in the midst of a really great life. So sometimes great people get taken away out of this earth. And Isaiah 57:1, it says, "The righteous perish and no one ponders it in his heart. Devout men are taken away, and no one understands that the righteous are taken away to be spared from evil. Not always, but sometimes, think about it, sometimes God says, you know what? This guy or this girl is so righteous, I'm going to take them out of the earth. Because I don't want them to be around all that evil. I love them so much that I'm going to take them home early. And so sometimes we go like, God, why did you take that really nice lady? Or why did this really nice person die? And the answer might be because God is simply saying, I'm going to take them out of that evil because they're so much better than that situation. They deserve to be here. So that's one of the interesting things as you sift through Isaiah. The other, I think, there are two other major interesting things. One is how Isaiah is called. God sort of shows up to Isaiah in his room one day and announces that Isaiah ought to follow him with a whole bunch of angels and that sort of thing. And so read with me what it says in Isaiah chapter 6. In the year of King Uzziah, or the year that King Uzziah died anyway, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. And above him were seraphs, those are angels, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their face, and with 2 wings they covered their feet, and with 2 wings they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and the threshold shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. And this is Isaiah's response to seeing that. He says, oh crap, I can't believe God has met me. Woe to me means, oh, damn, I'm screwed. That's what that means in Hebrew. Like that. He says, oh, I'm screwed. He cried, I am ruined. He said, uh-oh, I've seen God and I know what I'm like, so I'm about to get burnt up. That's what Isaiah said. For I am a man of unclean lips. I live among people of unclean lips. So I'm a sinner and all the people around me are sinners. And my eyes have seen God, the King, the Lord Almighty. He says, uh-oh, this can't be good. That God let me see him right before he smites me, you know. Then one of the seraphs flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken from the altar, with tongs. Those are like the grabbers you get the kalbi with. From the altar, which is, with it he touched my mouth and he said, see, this has touched your mouth. Don't worry, you're not going to die. Your guilt has been taken away and your sin has been atoned for. He said, oh, don't worry, we're not going to smite you right now, or God isn't. You're not going to get turned to dust. And then I heard the voice of the Lord, and this is pretty cool. God says, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And that's Isaiah. Isaiah says, here I am, send me. So Isaiah sees this vision of God and angels and all this crazy stuff, and God says, who will go for us? Who will go out and tell people what I want them to hear? Who will go for us? And Isaiah says, he's already admitted he's a sinner who deserves to get smashed by God, and then God gives him the second chance. And so Isaiah says, well, I got a second chance, you didn't kill me, so I'll go. Maybe he doesn't know what he has to offer, but he says he's willing to go. He meets God and he says, God, I'm down to go for you. And God is still asking that same question today. Let me assure you that this evening that you have seen these same angels as you read about them. And God is asking the same question today. And the question is, who will go tell people the message of God? Who will turn people back to God? Not just the Jews, but the nations, and ultimately the whole world. And you get an opportunity even tonight to respond. You get to say, right now, God, I'll go for you. And some of you will say, maybe another time, God. Not right now. But God gives us that same opportunity to give to Isaiah. He says, who will go for us? Who's going to speak on my behalf? Who will tell people about me? Who will tell them to turn back to the righteous, living God who loves them? And Isaiah said, I will. And I hope that some of us will respond, I will.